We are on episode number lucky 13 here on Odds and End Zones on BGN Radio. I am Shamus Clancy, joined always by my boy Zo. Zo, happy Friday morning, happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother. Happy New Year to our faithful listeners. Fresh off the Florida trip, how you feeling, man?
A little bloated. A lot of blue milk drinks in the Star Wars Edge Galaxy and
I'm sure, dude. I'm sure.
in Hollywood Studios at Disney.
You did it right though. Vacation, man. You
Yeah.
you may not ever hit Florida again for another 2 years.
No, that's what I said to Ashley as we are leaving the last night. I was like, let's turn around and look at it because it could be like 10 years before we come back.
Seriously. You have to.
Got a lot of souvenir cups.
We went to Miami 3 years ago, and like our last day, we were just like, we should just make sure we rage because this is probably going to be the last time we go for the next couple of years.
You don't get a lot of mommy daddy trips to Miami.
You don't get a ton of mommy daddy trips. You get maybe one or two like here and there, and then you gotta wait until they're teenagers so you can ship them off to other people's houses until you can go.
Staying at your boy's crib, like your son's friend's crib for a week while you go out to you hit OCMD.
Yeah, real prep style. Like, yo, is he good? Cool. I send him with spending money. We'll see in a week.
Yeah, he's a prep kid. He's got to be a good kid. He got to go over there.
I can't wait till where's Amari? Oh, he's down Avalon with his buddies, so he'll be all right.
She's got the shore house for the summer.
Yeah.
So I was able to watch the game down in Florida. Went to some English bar.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah, it was insane. Yeah. And like we're down there and we go to this place for like a quick bite earlier in the week. And because every time I'm going somewhere, I'm asking people if they have the NFL Sunday ticket package. So I didn't know what I was doing because the closest Eagles bar in Orlando was about 40 minutes away. So I wasn't going to Uber there with my
right. Yeah, I remember you said that. Okay, yeah.
And they say yes. We go there early on Sunday and make sure we got a good table where they had one TV set for us and there. And it's like the second or third quarter, and we've been there for several hours. And someone sits down the table next to us, and they talk to a different server, and they're like, "Hey, can we put X game up on there?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'll go see about it." I went, "Whoa, whoa. Yeah, like you thought I was going to cut their hand off, like how I jumped up in the air." But the thing was, they were Buccaneers fans. It turns out every TV in there otherwise was the Buccaneers game because we're in North Florida. So I don't know why they had to have that there.
But they had already clinched. They already clinched, right?
They have the division, yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't need to watch for anything.
Yeah, and you could just stay at home and watch the game and order food if you want to. I'm there.
You're in the home market. You stay home.
Yeah, they got there way after us, and left way before us. So I think Yale Min's Cask and Lie made the right decision, appealing to our sensibilities. But the first quarter on Sunday was the worst quarter football ever played. And then the Eagles go and score 34 answered points on a way to a 34-10 win.
I couldn't believe what I was watching. I had actually, I think I tweeted, like, I want to go do some laundry or something. It was just awful football. Take
the tree down.
I think like we told people the past, 3 weeks, like, if you are not a fan of either of these teams, why are you even watching? Like we're fully invested, obviously, as fans, but I don't imagine anybody outside of our purview is tuning in saying, I gotta watch this Birds Giants game, see what's going on. Like it's been terrible football, but like it is interesting because when you're they're such a weird team right now. The Eagles are a very weird team, and I say that as they can't pass the ball, or like they can pass the ball, but like their gravy is running the ball, but like they don't always run the ball. So like you don't even know what you're going to get with them. Like you have no clue what they're going to show you. So like they can have their first three possessions all passes, and we're all like, dude, like what is happening? And then next thing you know, bang, 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 down the throat they're running the ball, and you're like, okay, right now we're back to being the number one running team in the league again. But like they're so frustrating in that manner that you literally have no clue what offense is going to show up to start the game.
Yeah, I wondered if the coming off a Tuesday game and that 4 or 5 day stretch of a break, that's why you saw such a slow first quarter from them. And that's obviously a convenient excuse. That's something that kind of confirmation bias because we were
Yeah,
so ticked off about that to begin with. And I think our concern, and that goes for most Eagles fans on Twitter and the internet, was not just as much about Washington getting some guys back for that Tuesday game, but what it
yeah,
could mean for the following week when you're on
yeah,
a super short week playing a team that's on full rest. I
yep.
think maybe that did show itself in the first quarter
Mhm.
where Hurts ran twice for 7 yards. That's the fewest times he's run in a game
Yeah,
since 2017, playing at Alabama in some crazy blowout where he didn't play the entire game.
yep.
His ankle's bothering him. There's no way he runs just 2 times for 7 yards in the game if that ankle isn't still an issue. So you have that factor. You have your most important player in a way, your quarterback, even if people don't think he's the greatest quarterback ever, it's still an important,
He's still
most important
important.
player
Yeah,
in the
sure.
team. You have that guy a little banged up, hadn't played in a month, goes out there against Washington, plays pretty good, has some bad moments, has some good moments, the Jalen Hurts experience, and then plays on a short rest this week and looks a little gimpy running the ball. But he threw the ball okay.
Yeah.
They win, play a bad team. And there's this whole conversation online where you can't believe in this team. No one's here saying this team is a Super Bowl team. This team can be fun though. This is a team. It's a gravy season where a lot of people, one of those tweets got old takes exposed where some guy from Pro Football Focus before the season said they had a bottom 3 roster in the league,
Yeah.
something like that. Like I don't think everyone in Philly thought that, but most people probably did. Maybe 11-6 or something like that. I'm thinking, but it ends up being that.
And then I don't know if you saw the I think Colin Cowherd said they were going to be like 3-14.
Yeah,
And then like the I think it was like actually speaking of old tweets, I saw somebody retweeted his tweet yesterday where he was saying like the NFC East was going to be the worst division in football, and like I think he had like the he had Washington winning it, and then he had the Cowboys going I think 9-8, the Giants some kind of crazy record, and then the Eagles going 3-14. So like I think it's something to there's something to the idea that you're just proud that they fought this year. Like it does. It's a difference between saying they're going to Super Bowl and then saying I'm just happy that they're giving us something to cheer for. Like we're all
yes.
just happy they gave us something to cheer for.
We're having exciting, meaningful January football after not having that for the entirety of last season. That is
And,
worth something.
and you
I've
know
always
what?
said in my college years or younger, just give me
Yeah,
to December. Let's have some fun for the year. Could be stressful. It'll probably be stressful. But
yeah.
as long as we're playing meaningful football at the end of the season, that works for me. It's just not a successful season, but a season that I don't regret watching and following this team as hard as we do.
And you know what? The like I told you before, and we talked about before, there's something to a first year head coach and a young starting quarterback having a chance to fight for the playoffs. So
Yes.
you get to the playoffs, you take care of your business, everything else falls in place, and you find yourself Sunday night in the playoffs. We should not be telling anybody sorry. Like that, you had to fight for that.
Yes.
You had to take care of your business, and like
And I like the playoff experience.
I love it. I'm this here. Like I that for me stretches across every sport that I watch.
Yes.
As a fan, like I will always say take the experience because there's no substitution for it. Like I'd rather go into next year saying, all right, they know what it takes to get to the playoffs as opposed to they know what it takes to have to fight for a playoff spot and then lose the last game of the season. Like just get there. You get there and you see what happens. Like who's to say you don't go into Dallas and shock them rushing for 200 yards. Like that they listen, we know what their defense looks like. We know what their front seven looks like. They probably have an MVP candidate in the secondary and probably the rookie MVP on their line. But like, who's to say we can't catch them on an off day? Like, it
Yes.
only takes one game. Like that's the playoffs. Playoffs is literally one game. You catch them slipping, you win by a field goal or like you lose by a touchdown. And like instead of everybody saying how good the Cowboys are, everybody saying, man, the Eagles are going to be really, really dangerous next year. Like that's what you want. You want to go into the playoffs thinking, let's have zero pressure. Let's go in and have fun and see what happens.
I've made this comparison before on here, whether it's on here or from the bleachers, that the thing about playoff experience that I think of is Eagles win the division in 2013, Chip Kelly's first year. Nick Foles
Mhm.
comes in, throws 27 touchdowns, interception, has that magical year.
Yep.
Eagles lose in the first round of the playoffs at home to New Orleans. And Foles plays pretty good, not great, had some bad moments there, but had some good ones too.
Yep.
If he doesn't play in that game, do the Eagles win the Super Bowl in 2017 if his first playoff game ever is that Falcons game?
No. I
Zero
don't think
chance.
so. I
Zero
don't think
chance.
so.
Zero chance. So
Not
that's
at
what I
all.
mean. Jalen Hurts isn't Nick Foles. No one in NFL history will ever be Nick Foles. No one
No.
will ever have that insane of a career. But if Jalen Hurts plays in this playoff game, maybe he does the same thing. Plays pretty good, has some bad moments. Again, the totality of the Jalen Hurts experience, and the
Yeah.
Eagles maybe lose by single digits. And then they come out next year, sign a big free agent or two with that cap space, bring in a Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson to Philadelphia, and you say, have those 3 first-round picks. Maybe you trade a little bit for an established player in the future. You pick up 2 or 3 solid contributors defensively in the first 2 rounds. You're saying, hey, we just made the wild card as a team that everyone thought sucked.
Right.
We're a little bit better now. Maybe we could scare Dallas, or maybe we could even get the 5th or 6th seed, go out there and make some noise.
Is the way you have to consider what your path upward looks like, right? Because now there's no more lovable underdog. You're gonna get every team's best shot, and you just look at your conference. And first, start with your division. Washington's not going to be as hurt as they were this year. Dallas isn't going anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not.
Trayvon Diggs isn't on the wrong side of his career. Same thing with Micah Parsons. They're
right.
if
Trayvon
anything,
Diggs
they're
and Michael
probably going to get
Parsons.
better.
Right. What do you think they're going to fall off a cliff after this year? No, they're both literally going to get better. You look at the Giants. I mean, their coach and their quarterback suck, but like they're going to be gunning to show that they're not who they are. So like you have to look at your path upward. And like you said, you got 3 first-round picks going into the draft. Should you spend them on? Probably not. You should probably look to get 2 or 3 solid contributors. I would love another a playmaking linebacker, maybe probably another safety.
I've gone full boomer where since they have 3 first-round picks, if they had just 1 first-round pick, I wouldn't take a linebacker because they have 3 and if they're using them all.
3, yeah.
You know, just take a linebacker. Like it's fine. Like, and if it's someone that can be kind of a joker role and do a little bit of everything, not just this Levon Kirkland 280-pound middle linebacker. Like I don't want that, but if you have a kind of a guy, a joker role, the guy from Utah stands out to me as a guy that I would take with like the 23rd pick. I think they're right now they have picked like 19, 20, and 23 or something like that.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that it's also it's like in basketball, you get so dialed into what your team lacks that like it becomes less and less of a sexy pick, but it's the right pick, So you're like when there's 10 point guards staring you in your face and you're like, oh, they took point guards, like, but they needed a point guard. So like like you want it becomes less sexy, but it's the right pick because it's what your team needs. So like if they do take one of those roving linebackers that we so desperately need, it's going to be less sexy, but it's going to be the right pick to make.
We're going full boomer. This season has made me full boomer. Where I actually really love running the ball. I'm such a progressive person in terms of on the field for football. I guess probably off the field, but that wasn't where I was going with it. And I wrote, and I think in a newsletter this week, when I was saying that the Eagles always want to play under Jeffrey Lurie a 22nd century version of football. They want to be on the evolutionary cusp. But they're literally playing a 19th century version of football that Walter Camp drew up at Yale in the
They're playing,
late 1800s.
They're playing the old Leatherhead varsity jacket
Yes.
football.
Yeah, and they go out, they could have the most boomer draft ever. They draft a linebacker, they draft an offensive guard, and they draft a pass rusher. I would love that. That'd be great because you need someone to take over at right guard, even though they have some really nice depth pieces there with Herbig and Driscoll. You need a linebacker. I will say they've maximized the talent at linebacker, and we've been critical of Jonathan Gannon in the past. But Alex Singleton, TJ Edwards, and Sean Bradley, and none of those guys are Brian Urlacher or Patrick Willis. They're maximizing those guys defensively right now. And you have to give Gannon credit for that because those guys aren't players. They were all here last year. They weren't players last year.
And they're guys who are they found themselves in the right position to make plays. Alex Singleton had a pick six.
Yes.
But they're good depth pieces. So maybe
you still need a star.
Yeah, maybe not all three of them are starting next year. They're good depth pieces, but you still need a guy. You need a good prospect. I would say the same thing about the front seven too. Josh Sweat has been pretty consistent this year. There's a couple other guys who I like, but I still think you need a mid to high prospect there, to kind of shore things up. Because I don't think that we've seen it. They haven't consistently gotten to the quarterback, whomever that may be, whether it's, whomever. So I still think you need some help there, but you can get that. I mean, defensive linemen are day two. I mean, you can get a defensive lineman on day two, but that's another area where I'd love to see, a good boomer pick for us.
We need Aiden Hutchinson to accidentally release a pic of him with a bong mask and a "Let's Go Brandon" shirt on the day of the draft.
I need Aiden Hutchinson with a flag that goes on screaming "Let's Go Brandon." I need it to drop the day before the draft.
Yes,
and then the questions start, and then we're like, "Oh man, Aiden Hutchinson's dropping." Oh jeez.
We're talking about this defensive line. Guess how many sacks the Eagles have this year?
I would say 40.
25. Guess where that ranks in the league?
That's got to be dead last, right?
Tied for 30th.
All right. So
the Falcons have 16, which is disgusting.
So it might as well be dead last.
You might as well be dead last. And given the financial investments and the quote unquote name brand players they have on there, that's a disaster, I think. It's and they've played better the last 2 weeks. And again, you have the discussion where they face bad quarterbacks.
Yeah.
At the same time, those excuses, do these wins not count because they played Garrett Gilbert and Jake Fromm or whatever? But the losses where they hung tough against Brady and Herbert don't count. I mean, there's a yin and yang to that.
That would be that would be honestly, in a playoff scenario, my biggest concern.
Quick passes against this team getting rocked in the middle of the field.
That's what I'm saying. Can you get to a Dak fast enough? Can you get to an Aaron Rodgers quick enough? And right now, no, you can't. All I see is CD making a quick slant and just Dak finding them, and then 60 yards later, we're down 7-0 already. And I just don't think that they've been.
That's happening. That's exactly what's going to happen. Yes,
right. It's 100% happening, dude. And I just don't think that, like you said, the name brand players on that line, and for the money that's invested, they just have not performed up to par. 25 sacks that's pitiful.
They should have 25 sacks between two guys.
I was just about to say, between 2 or 3 players on that line, you should have 25 sacks. It shouldn't be to collectively we got 25 sacks. What do you even look like? What do you even look at in the war room during the week? You don't have any tape. There's nothing. You don't do anything.
Yeah.
What are you even looking at? You're playing you're at the point of the year where you're playing third and fourth string linemen on some of these teams, and you still can't get enough pressure. Like that's unexcusable.
When I'm in Florida, I'm in one of those shuttles between like a resort and the parks and something like that. And a guy has a Louisiana Tech football backpack with, number 54, whatever number the guy is.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking of Milton Williams, who
yeah,
I
Big
really
Mill.
liked him going to the draft. Been playing decently well down the stretch, getting
Yeah,
some more snaps, getting some more run. I go, hey man, did you play at Louisiana Tech? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, did you know Milton Williams? And he was like, yeah, he was a year ahead of me. He was like, oh, I'm a gigantic Eagles fan. Like he was my guy going in the draft. And then he
yeah.
had a sack in the Giants game this past week. So I'm hoping maybe if you're not getting the numbers you want from Fletch, if you're not getting those early season numbers you got from Hargrave, maybe Milton Williams coming
I
along late in
love
the
Mill.
season.
I
I
I
like Milton Williams too.
I love Mill, man. I think he's got a high motor. He's a guy who I think, like you said, he's only gonna get better with the more snaps that he gets. But I like him a lot. I liked him coming out. I thought he was someone who certainly would not make you look like a fool. But I agree. I mean, at some point you got to decide. What are you in there to prove that your investment was worth it, or are you in there to try to win games? And then Milton Williams can help you win games. You gotta at least give him a shot.
I think he might end up with the most sacks by a rookie defensive tackle since Corey Simon. I think Ruben Frank from NBC Sports said something
Which
like
is
that to
crazy.
this
Shout out to
point.
Corey Simon, Florida State guy.
Corey Simon, yeah. I like Corey Simon. He was good. What other numbers we got? Because we're odds and end zones. So I got some odds for us. Football
Did you want to
outsiders.
give Did you want to give? That's actually a good segue. Do you want to give people the numbers for what we're looking at Sunday to clinch? Like who needs to do what?
Yeah. So the Eagles have a couple scenarios where they could clinch a playoff spot this weekend, not wait, because the Eagles, regardless of what happens for any other team, if the Eagles win Sunday against Washington, the following Sunday against the Cowboys, they are in the playoffs. But they can clinch as early as this Sunday. What would
Yep.
that entail? It'd be the Eagles, obviously, beating Washington in the 1 o'clock games. Then you would also need, in the 8 o'clock slate, the Vikings to lose Sunday Night Football on the road at Green Bay. They've already beat the Packers once this year. Hard to imagine they beat Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
twice in the same season.
Yeah.
And then there are two other scenarios that could happen that you would need either one of these. You would need the Panthers to beat New Orleans at home, on the road, I should say, in New Orleans. The Saints are at home. You would need that because the Saints are on the Eagles' tail. They're 7-8.
Yep.
And if not that, you could also get the 49ers to beat Houston.
Yep.
So people are saying like, oh, we need the Giants to win, or I want to say Giants, the 49ers to win. I'm not necessarily rooting for them to win. I'd much rather the New Orleans Carolina situation play out
Yeah.
because I still want a chance to get that 6th seed.
Yeah.
So I kind of want the 49ers to lose. It's because I'm looking at Football Outsiders numbers. It's a playoff probability. The Eagles have a 74.3% chance of making the playoffs per Football Outsiders, and they give the odds at what seed they could be. They actually have a 7.3% chance at the 5th seed, and probably, and a 6%, or for the 6th seed, they have a 34.5% chance, and the 7th seed, 32.5% chance. They actually have a better chance
Yeah.
at making the 6th seed rather than the 7th seed. So I think there's a situation now where I wouldn't mind the 49ers dropping their last week. They play Houston this week and then Los Angeles in week 17. So I think that game would have some juice. It feels like the type of game that gets flexed this Sunday Night Football. So they do have a chance there. They can clinch this Sunday. I don't know if it's exactly going to happen, but it's not far-fetched at all.
Yeah, and I think what did I read yesterday? It's going to be, I think it's going to feel like -3 at Lambeau Sunday night. That's going to be that is certainly going to be a contest. But I tend to agree. I think it'll be tough for. I don't see the Vikings sweeping the Packers this year.
And even even if they don't clinch based on the Saints or 49ers, the Vikings losing does give the Eagles some breathing room in case they lose to Dallas next week.
Yep. And then, the other thing is you obviously take a look at what Dallas is playing for, which is at this point, at that top of order is a little weird, but I don't think that they have much more to play for. Like they wrap up the division, they're kind of cemented in their spot. So they might I could totally see them giving Dak the day off next Sunday.
Would be nice. Would be
Yeah,
nice.
would be perfect if that's the way things lined up. We'll see what McCarthy and Jerry Jones decide to do. But I'm almost certain that that top of order is kind of cemented, so they can't really jump anybody.
We're on the cusp of a very intriguing situation, and obviously this entails the Eagles winning this Sunday. Obviously,
Mhm.
to make the playoffs, all that needs to happen. Let's not get too carried away and pretending this is an automatic win. But we could be facing a situation where the Eagles play the Cowboys in Week 18,
I know.
where both of them have kind of clinched their spot. The Eagles are in the postseason; they don't know what seed. Cowboys have won the division, don't know what seed, but they can't get the bye. And these teams could go out and play really vanilla and end up playing each other the following week, like it happened in 2009. And a mailbag, someone was like, what would you do? Would you play vanilla? Would you do this? And I think back to that 2009 season. The Eagles in week 17 go down to Dallas. Whoever won that game won the NFC East, and whoever lost that game would still make the postseason, and the teams would play each other the following week. This game was on Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
And Eagles go down 17-0 in the first half, and Andy Reid plays his card, face down in defense mode type vibe, and they just let the Cowboys roll over them, lose 24-0. They're saying, hey, we're playing them again next week.
Yeah.
So instead of playing a home playoff game, they go down to Dallas once again and get their teeth kicked in, McNabb air guitar game, and lose 34-10. And the comparison I made to that, and as an inverse, was in 2013 in Week 16, the Eagles had a situation where they could clinch the NFC East. They would have needed the Cowboys to lose to Washington that day, and if the Eagles won as well, that would clinch it because the team has played again in Week 17, the final week of the season. So the Cowboys end up beating Washington, so that renders that Eagles-Bears game meaningless. It doesn't matter if they win or lose; it still comes down to that Week 17 matchup based on some divisional tiebreakers. And what do the Eagles do with Chip Kelly Sunday Night Football? They beat the crap out of the Bears, 54-11. 54-11, they beat the crap out of them. And they go down there, they ride the momentum, and they beat Dallas in Week 17. That's the type of energy I want to bring, especially with this team where they don't have the greatest offensive rhythm of all time. This is not a light switch team in the slightest. I want those reps. I want them to play well. Obviously, you don't want players to get hurt. And it's a situation like, hey, they're a little nervous about Jalen. Who says they can't win that game with Gardner?
Yeah, and I mean, in this city, we don't have many light switch teams.
I don't think they've ever had a light switch team.
We've had our fill of light switch teams in this city.
Maybe like the 2010 Phillies or something like that. They had a couple bad games and they're turning it on.
Maybe 2010 Phillies. If Jimmy stays, maybe that team, that Jimmy Joe lineup, maybe they become a light switch team. But we haven't had many light switch teams in the city.
No.
I would have to talk to the good doctor and AAV to figure out if we ever had a light switch Flyers team. But
you have a first time starting quarterback essentially. I don't want to say he's a rookie because he played last year and started some games, but first full time starter, rookie head coach. This team shouldn't be in the business of laying duds.
Yeah, it just I think that's something you have to earn too.
Yeah,
you have to earn being a light switch team. They have not earned that, regardless of who they have name wise on the defensive side of the ball. Neither side of the ball has earned the right to be a light switch team. So no,
leave it on this week. Leave it on this week. Leave it on next week. Leave it on for the wild card, Dan. Do not turn the switch off.
There's no such thing. Like, you dug yourselves in an early hole. There's no more light switch. We're fighting. There's no such thing as we can turn on, turn it off against whoever. No. If you're playing Dallas's third stringers next week, you got to turn it on. Keep it on against them. Because the week after that, you're probably going to have to go back down to Dallas.
You're going to play them again.
Play them again. So, no, there's no such thing. You haven't earned that right.
Where would you guess the Eagles rank in point differential in the whole NFL?
Are they, was that top 5? Right?
They're 10th right now.
10th? Right. That's close.
And this gets back to what we were saying earlier where people were saying this win is kind of bogus or fugazi. They're playing hard and hanging tough against the best teams or the best quarterbacks, I could say.
Yep.
Kansas City, Tampa Bay, the Chargers, Dallas. Maybe a little of it's backdoory, but they're playing hard the whole game. And then they're beating the crap out of the bad teams. And that's all you could really ask for a team that's not uber talented is win the games you're supposed to and hang tough and play hard against the teams where it's very unlikely that you're going to win.
Yeah.
So They're plus 80 point differential because, again, they're smoking the bad teams they're playing. Atlanta, Detroit, the Giants this week, so on and so forth. And they're actually ahead of Green Bay. Green Bay is
Yeah,
11th in point differential
I can see
at
that.
plus 59. San Francisco, they're ahead of San Francisco, who's plus 43.
See
They're
that
ahead
too.
of the Titans, who are plus 31.
I think that it's also just like we talked about. You you can only play who's on your schedule,
Yeah.
and like the teams that we've said they should smoke, they've been smoking. Um, it just it gives you weird. It gives you a weird preview of the playoffs. It kind of doesn't give you any. It gives you zero insight into the playoffs though, because you don't know. They've played hard against but struggled against the good team,
Yeah.
and against the bad teams they've absolutely dominated. So we
And
have
that's a
no
credit to
clue.
Sirianni for sure,
Yeah, that's a
as
credit
people
to
have been
Sirianni.
critical of him.
They definitely haven't played down to level their competition, or at least they haven't been coached down to it. They've kind of beat who they're supposed to beat, but we don't know. At some point, talent has to take over, and
Yeah.
we still don't know where that talent differential is. But we're gonna find out. Something tells me.
I have a couple of bets I'm putting in for Sunday. And one of them speaks to the playoff scenario we were talking about earlier where
Mhm.
the Eagles could clinch on Sunday. So I have in one is Eagles minus 3.5, just the normal spread.
Yep.
Packers minus 6.5, just the normal spread. And then Carolina money line, which I believe is around 2 plus 240
Yeah.
against New Orleans, because that could be a situation where if those three things
Yeah.
happen, the Eagles cover that game, Packers cover, New Orleans win.
Yep.
New Orleans loses, Eagles make the postseason. That was plus weird number plus 1,111 is that. So you bet $10 to win $111.
Yeah.
Another one I have going is they're a little banged up at running back. Miles Sanders broken hand. Jordan Howard has been limited in practice this week. I don't know exactly what we're going to see from him.
Yeah.
Is Kenny Gainwell touchdown? He actually
Mhm.
is tied for the team lead in touchdowns. He has 84 offensive snaps and has 5 touchdowns. He has a chance to be the first Eagles player to lead the team and Eagles rookie to lead the team in touchdowns since Calvin Williams, I believe, in 1990 with 9.
Absolutely nuts.
So that's plus 373. And again, he has a chance because of his dynamicism as
Yeah.
a pass catcher, besides just being a running back. I could see a situation on Sunday where he has about 75, 80 yards
Yep.
from scrimmage and a touchdown, whether it's receiving or rushing. I really like that. And one that I'm kind of into is because of Jordan Howard's injury. Obviously, Jalen Hurts hasn't been really mobile as much as he has been early in the season the last 2 weeks, but he's still a huge factor in the red zone,
Yeah.
the goal line situation.
Sure.
So one I had on here was Hurts to have 2 touchdowns and Eagles money line, which was plus 1177. So that's a situation, $10 to win $172 to $117. Just for reference, he did that exact thing in the Washington game, had 2 rushing touchdowns, and the Eagles won. And this one, I'm not sure I'm going to put on it. I think I might, just for the heck of it. He has done this year. And again, this is a lot of times based off of the situation here where they're missing Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders, potentially Jordan Howard. Is Hurts 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
He did that against New Orleans earlier in the season at home. He had 3 touchdowns, had that crazy juke back game. That's plus 7,000. That's pretty nice odds, I think.
That's pretty nice.
So that's $5 to win 350, $10 to win 700.
I also
might throw $5-10 on that.
Something else that stuck out to me at that first game 2 weeks ago now. The Washington linebackers couldn't defend Dallas Goedert to save their lives. So if I
maybe look at some Goddard receiving yards on
I would
there.
absolutely look at Goddard's receiving yards. I don't know. I feel like it's weird because I feel like him and Hurts have a tough time hooking up for TDs, but Hurts definitely finds them for passes. But that definitely stuck out to me. I think that this is Washington went down to Dallas and got the doors absolutely blown off them. So I think that defense is going to be out to prove something. Their offense is pedestrian, but I think their defensive line especially is going to be a little teed off. So they're going to be a little fired up at least to start. But I love those plays. I think that we'll certainly see Jalen using his feet a lot more, especially if he's down two of his running backs. But I think that I like him to at least score a rushing touchdown this game.
Goddard's number is 54.5. For reference, against Washington 2 games ago, we had 135 receiving
Yeah,
yards.
that's the easy over for me. Easy.
That's a nice over.
Yeah,
Devontae had 55.5. He had 80 against the
yeah.
Giants on
Another
Sunday, as
easy
reference.
over.
Hurts at 44.5 rushing yards. I'm kind of inclined to take the under against Washington.
Yeah,
Still
I'm gonna
banged up. I
take.
think he had 38. So
Yeah, I
he
might
hasn't
take the
even
under on that.
he's at 45 the last 2 games
Yeah,
combined, and this is at 44.5.
I
Oh,
might
that's
take the
we
under
like
on
doing the Hurts rushing yards. That's one. You
that.
can't bet under on a Hurts rushing yards. That's a loser move. But
Yeah,
that's a game that's a line I'd probably stay a little away
yeah,
from.
yeah. True.
What else I got on here? The Eagles, and I talked about a mailbag for Bleeding Green Nation this week. I think it's coming out this morning. We're recording this on Friday morning. Someone asked me to talk about the teams in the NFC hierarchy and the Eagles compared to. I had Dallas, Green Bay, Los Angeles, and Tampa Bay as teams that are clearly better than them. And for teams that are in the same tier, I actually went with Arizona and San Francisco based on the current situation. Arizona's really fallen off recently from a team that was the top team in the conference where
Yep.
they clinched a playoff spot, but they might not win a division here. And San Francisco, and obviously the Eagles lost to San Francisco in week 2, but my case there was that the Eagles are in a completely different team than they were in week 2. They had 19 running back rushes in week 2, and they've averaged more than 30 running back rushes per game since week 8, and that goes to 38 this past game against the Giants.
I certainly put them on the same.
38 is against Detroit, I think, but
yeah. I mean, I definitely put him on the same tier. I mean, I like Trey Lance a lot. He's really, really good. I think he's going to be really good. But I think if you look at both of those teams, they're pretty dead on. Two teams with two young quarterbacks trying to figure it out and trying to figure out what they have in each of those quarterbacks.
Yeah, their QB situation for this year specifically is no more stable than the Eagles is.
Exactly. Like it's kind of a wash. And then they have both dynamic playmakers on the outside. We got Devontae. They have Debo, who like if Devontae turns into Debo, we're set for the next decade, dude.
Yeah. Oh my God, Coach. Debo is like if you gave Jalen Reagor the super soldier serum. That's Debo Samuel.
I love him so much, man. He catches the ball one stiff arm and it's back to the house. And
most unique player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In my 20 years as a football fan.
Yeah. He's so good, man. And you know what? He's also I've watched a couple of things on him. He's an extremely hard worker. He's a guy who he definitely bought in out there, and obviously he's kind of like their anchor. And I would definitely put them, defensive wise, they've had a ton of injuries this year, but I think that they're certainly on the same tier. I love your rationale for the Cardinals. I think a lot of
Kyler's been banged up a little bit. Hopkins has been out. There's a situation there. And I think the best situation, it's unfortunate for the Eagles was, and I guess it could still happen, is if Arizona won the division and they were the 2 or 3 seed and the Eagles went out there to Arizona, that would have been like the most underdog wild card picked. I mean, the line would have been crazy, I think, because I think people would have been hammering the Eagles.
I think a lot of people would have been hammering the Eagles. Basically, like you said, Kyler's been banged up. That defense hasn't looked as up to snuff as it has at the beginning of the year.
And I'm not sure Cliff Kingsbury is a better coach than Nick Sirianni.
And we don't know what and Kingsbury's, that magic seems to be wearing off a little bit. And they've got hit by injuries. No JJ Watt. A couple of receivers are banged up. And Kyler plays a brand of football where he's scrambling a lot and like he's been taking a lot more hits recently, since he's come back from injury that it's kind of throwing him off tilt a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of people want to put them in the unserious pile just because of that. They just haven't had the same juice as they had to start the season.
Kyler Murray, as talented as he is, Jalen Hurts, both of them have played the same amount of snaps in a playoff game in the NFL.
Yeah.
So same thing. Cliff Kingsbury. It's been Nick Sirianni's coached some playoff games in the NFL as
Right.
assistant coach. Cliff Kingsbury hasn't.
Kingsbury is going in nice and
The
fresh.
experience
Yeah.
level there favors the Eagles, and I think if you want
Oh,
to give
100%.
San
Yeah.
Francisco or it's a Washington, if you want to give San Francisco the nod because of Kyle Shanahan, because a lot of that core nucleus has played in the Super Bowl, I understand that for sure.
Yeah,
But
I
we're
get that.
talking
Yeah.
about Arizona here, experience wise for both coaching staffs and players, and really the Eagles still have some of those players that went on that Super Bowl. You still
Right.
have your two best offensive
Yeah.
linemen. You have your most expensive defensive
Most
lineman. I'll
expensive
say it like
defensive.
that. You
Yeah.
have Rodney McLeod. You have Jake Elliott, who's made huge kicks throughout his career. That could lean Eagles.
Exactly. So I think there's certainly some there's a ton of parallels there, and I wouldn't be scared of them at all, though.
Yeah. Want to close out with a prediction for Sunday. The Eagles line is -3.5 for my newsletter. If you want to subscribe to my newsletter, you can patreon.com/Shamus_Clancy. 2 weeks ago, again, for the Washington game, I predicted a 27-16 Eagles win. The final score ended up being 27-17. So I was fairly close on that for the first time. Nostradamus strikes again. And I'll say the same thing on Sunday, another 27-16 win. Hopefully, I definitely think the Eagles are going to cover. Could be a single-digit game, or I could also see a situation where they win maybe by maybe 13.
I like I said, I think that Washington's going to be a lot more dialed in. I think that Riverboat Ron's going to have them tuned up, but I just think that Sirianni has these guys clicking and they're firing on all cylinders. So I think it'll be a little bit more interesting, but I think 27-20 is my official prediction. I think the defense has a last drive stop, or maybe second to last drive stop that seals it. But I'm not ready to say that they'll clinch because they still need a ton more help after that. But I definitely they take care of their own business on Sunday at least.
I mean, I can see Washington rolling over and dying. They're kind of out. They're not officially out of it, but they are out of it. I can see Eagles fans taking over that stadium.
Yep.
And they just got crushed 56-14. And there's two sides of that coin where, hey, they just got embarrassed. They're going to try to play for some pride now, or this team is like, I'm trying to get that Cancun trip in. I'm planning on it right
100%.
now.
Also, I know they caught some heat earlier in the season, week, excuse me, because Ron Rivera said that Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen were both going to get some snaps. So I could totally see them if it's like a 21-10 halftime. I could totally see them throwing up the white flag and their guys getting ready for Cancun.
You break out the NASCAR package.
Yeah, break out the NASCAR.
I have talking about the defensive line against Washington. I believe they had some snaps where Fletch played out on the tackle as a defensive end kind of, and it seemed like he had some success on that. That's kind of the reverse of what they've done in the past.
Exactly.
And Brandon Graham has done lining up inside, and obviously they miss BG dearly. But making a situation where they maybe throw Hargrave and they have Milton Williams stuffing the middle of the field, given that pressure and the A gap, and then you have a situation where Fletch is outside against an offensive tackle is not used to playing a player like that. For obvious passing downs in a situation like you just came up with, where Heineke gets benched, Kyle Allen comes in there, and they're lining up in the shotgun every time those guys are in that deep 3-point stance. They're bull rushing right off the ball.
Bull rushing, yep.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah. And you know what? We would be remiss if we don't give our college football playoff picks.
What are you thinking? What's the line in badminton? Whatever the line is, it's not enough. Whatever the line is. So, because they came out this week, they're like, we still think we're underdogs out. And Alabama's pulling out the underdog mentality. Shut it down.
Listen, let me tell you something, Nick. So Nick Saban had all week has been pulling the underdog card, saying like it's 14. So the line is 14, but all week Saban's been like, oh, like you guys are talking about, the way to beat us is to pressure the quarterback and blah blah blah. And like, dude, I'm afraid to see what they look like thinking they're the underdogs. So I agree with you. I don't think 14 points is enough. I actually think they're gonna annihilate Cincinnati.
And what do you think of Georgia? Your Bulldogs -7.5.
My
against
dogs minus
Michigan.
7.5. So I listen.
It's an inevitability that we're getting Alabama, Georgia, right?
Yeah, we really
I think
are.
Michigan has a better chance of covering than Cincinnati, though.
I do. I think this has a better chance of being a much closer game and a much more exciting game. Michigan can at least score. They have two really really good running backs. But I don't think either one of those guys has ever seen the Georgia defensive line that they're going to see tonight. But I think that'll be the more exciting game. That's why it's the later game, to be honest with you. The schedule makers knew what they were doing. But yeah, I think we're mainlining right toward a Georgia Alabama national championship game.
Yeah, I could see the Cincy game getting out of hand like we've seen in those Alabama and Notre
Mm-hmm.
Dame games over the years. And it kind of
Really
reminds
good.
me of this situation. One of my dad's friends growing up played ball at Clemson,
Mm-hmm.
and he got an open tryout, not on undrafted free agent, whatever,
Yeah.
for the Bucks one year. And this is mid to late 90s. And he said he's an offensive lineman, whether it's guard, center, I don't know.
Yeah.
Said first snap on an NFL practice field, he lined up against Warren Sapp. And he just said before the play started, he knew it was over. Like that, like I'm not gonna make it. Like, do you know what I mean? Just like imagine lining up and you see number 99 in that pewter or that creamsicle color, and you're just like, no, it's not gonna happen. I feel like that has Cincinnati Bama vibes. They're just lining up against some future All-Pro defensive players, and like,
Dude, it's like
this isn't it.
Your first snap is like against a 6'7", 320-pound dude who's running a sub 4.5 40, and you're like, yeah, this is probably not going to be the best outcome.
Yeah,
and like that's what it is. It's more of a mind game than anything. Like if they're psyching you out now, the game's already over. Like it's just a different. Everybody who played them, like from the coaches and the players, have said that like it's a different type of battle because you got to get through the mind games first.
you're not just playing the guy in front of you; you're
Right.
playing the ghost of Alabama.
Right. It's like that's literally it. Like you forget about the guy in front of you. You're talking about. I mean, you're walking through the tunnel and there's little kids flipping you off and telling you you don't have a chance, and like Bama's coming.
And deep down, you know you don't.
Deep down, you're like, yeah, you're probably right, kid. We maybe don't have a chance. Like, good luck, dude. Like maybe once every decade, a Clemson comes along and pulls it out, but that's it. It's just they're just too good and way too advanced in every aspect of the game.
Good way to wrap it up. So we're saying going to win on Sunday.
Yep.
Looks like we're getting playoff football in Philadelphia. It's not definitive, but I think there's a good shot. There's a 74.3% chance, according to Football Outsiders. Take care of your business Sunday, and we'll see what happens. If they need some more help, they're getting it. They're clinching. And then if not, let's take it to the boys the following weekend.
And that's it. That's all we all we can ask for. That's how we'll end it. Just take care of your business, and then whatever happens after that.
Yep. So happy New Year to everyone out there. Stay safe.
Happy New Year.
No DDing tonight. If you're listening to this on Friday, please don't do that. Call an Uber, no matter how expensive it is. And keep bleeding green. We'll talk to you. We'll see you next year. Joke of all time.